jelly, and I've never quite made that connection between that muscle and jelly, but maybe there is one. So sometime when you Google it, Google pectineus and get the origin of the word and come back and tell me. Now, looking at the pectineus muscle there, then the next muscle next to that, if we page the obturator, then we can go pectineus, adductor, and put this nice slip of a muscle here, this flattened one, gracilis, and what we can't, if we cut this and look all the way down at the big hole there associated with the pelvis, then there is another muscle there called the external obturator. And by P-A-G-E, we have paged the obturator, and the obturator nerve innervates all those muscles. And now we've done the medial muscles of the thigh. We've done cranial, medial, caudolateral. I think we're out of muscles, aren't we? Yep.
There's 2 heads of the sartorius and the
There are 2 heads of the sartorius, but that's, I don't know how much value there is to that information there. Kind of a cranial and caudal head and sort of a yippee deal. If you recognize sartorius, we'll be happy.
Okay, it just looks different.
Yeah.
On the cat and not the dog, right?
Soles.
Well, in the cat, you don't see those distinct heads, but the cat doesn't know it, so we don't worry that much about it either. Okay, so what else can we do as we move down this limb? Now let's get into where most of you are right now. And it's easy to get fuzzied up about now. So that's all right. We just sort it out from cranial and move to caudal there. We pick up this bone. There's a shin bone here. When you bang your shin bone or touch your shin, that's what you're feeling there, this cranial edge of the tibia. I follow that all the way up to a great big bump here, which is the tibial tuberosity. And that's where all those quadriceps attach, and we've told you about an avulsion that can happen there, where it just rips all this completely loose there, because there's also a growth plate associated with that. Now, we start looking at cranial muscles. The most cranial muscle is the one that's on top of this thing called a tibia, so let's call it a cranial tibial, or tibialis cranialis if you like Latin. I do.
Semper ubi sub ubi.
To be what?
Semper ubi sub ubi.
Semper ubi sub ubi. Well.
Always wear underwear.
Always wear underwear.
Sorry, Latin joke.
Yeah. Ubi, huh? Ubi is underwear.
Ubi is wear, so it's
Okay.
really nice.
Well, can't wait till you play that back.
I know, right?
Oh boy. Don't pull on these too hard, because this one is really long and it'll pull loose from where it originated. So now if we look at this, and what you think about a muscle, it's going to go all the way to the end of the toes there. And if we shorten it, it's going to extend the digits. And it's very long. It's the longest one there, so let's make it the long digital extensor. Key point, it crosses the stifle joint. These other muscles that we're going to talk about don't cross the stifle joint. The long digital extensor rises on the femur because there's a little shallow spot there on the femur.
Extensor fossa.
A little shallow spot called the extensor fossa. From that arises. And horses, you're going to find that tendon's also there. Part of the joint capsule comes down and around it, so it's worthwhile knowing A, that it crosses a joint, and B, that you can access it there for synovial fluid. So synovial, that's the long digital extensor. Cranial, tibial, long digital extensor, and now we get to the part that usually gets kind of confusing in dissection, and that's okay. I'm going to pick this up. The word peroneus means pertaining to the calf. That's certainly the region of the calf in humans, and that's where most of these names came from. And it's quite long, and it extends across the tarsus and then inserts here on a bump on the metatarsals here. So this would be the peroneus longus. And the notable thing is that it will end here on bones of the metatarsus. And then just caudal to that will be a much smaller tendon, this little jobby, and if we follow that, that's going to follow a nice little course all the way down here to digit number 5. And it's positioned laterally, so let's make it the lateral digital extensor. Now that we've done the muscles there, we know that the innervation of them is all what nerve? Tibular or perineal. whichever one you choose to use. Deep branch does the muscle belly, superficial branch does the sensation. Okay, now we're cruising. We look on this side, you use your look on this side. Now we have some other muscles here that are going to either have an action on the digits or they're going to extend this tarsus. So we need only have the ability to shorten that and we can extend the tarsus. Now, that being the case, let's do the more difficult. Well, let's do the easier ones first. Lateral surface here, you've got this big muscle here, which, by the way, arises from the femur. So it crosses the joint. And these are the hamstrings or the gastrocs. So there's the lateral head of the gastrocnemius. Difference in the cat, they got this other weird little muscle with it called the soleus. Why we care about that, I'm not sure, but we do. Okay, so anyway, now we've got a lateral head of the gastrocs is quite large. We move over to the other side, and there's a medial head of the gastroc, which is not quite so large. And now in terms of things that can get fuzzy for you, if we follow those muscles up to their origin, there's a little bone embedded in that. Sitting right on top of the condyles of the tibia. What are they called?
Pabellae.
Pabellae. Yeah, not to be well, they are sesamoid bones. And being sesamoid bones, they're associated with the staple joints. And now we got 4 sesamoid bones. 4 sesamoid. 4 bones possible in that staple joint. And 2 of them are pabellae, one in each head of the gastrocs. One of them that could or could not be there is the
Popliteal.
tendon, and the tendon, the origin of the popliteus muscle, and then the last one?
Patella.
Yeah, we always forget the patella. But if you saw it in a list on a multiple choice question, you wouldn't forget it. But maybe on a lab, you might forget it.
Yeah.
Sometimes the biggest ones are ones that escape you. Okay, so now we've taken care of the heads of the gastroc. What I haven't done, though, is seeing if I can show you that muscle. For you to find the popliteus muscle, kind of look underneath this one and on the back portion there of the tibia, and what you'll do is you'll see the muscle starting medially and then it will wind around laterally here. So I see just a little bit of it right there on something, right? Kind of a triangular shaped group. That's the popliteus muscle. When we follow its tendon, it passes underneath some major structure of the staple joint, which makes the lateral side of the staple joint unique compared to the medial side of the staple joint. So that tendon of origin of the popliteus passes underneath a structure that strengthens the joint here. Which collateral ligament? Passes underneath the lateral collateral ligament, and by doing that, we've now put something in between the lateral collateral ligament and a big fibrocartilage pad that's in the joint. The fibrocartilage pad that's in the joint. The meniscus, the lateral meniscus. So now you have collateral ligament, tendon of origin of the popliteus, and now on the other side of that you have the lateral meniscus. No anatomic connection. Now we move to the other side there and look at the opposite ligament, which is a medial collateral ligament, and there's a medial meniscus there. Those two things are adherent. Because there's no popliteus muscle there, they're adherent. So now we come along with a car and hit this animal here, and as we change this angle to like that, you would expect that this ligament would go slack. And on the opposite side, what would you expect to happen to the medial collateral? It tears, and since it's adherent to the meniscus, then it rips that too. And at the same time, one of the ligaments here that attaches to the cranial surface, cranial surface of the tibia, and these things are named for their attachment to the tibia, cranial and caudal to the tibia, cranial cruciate ligament. Those three things tear, so that's called the terrible triad: medial meniscus, medial lateral ligament, and cranial cruciate. All right, all of that from just wallowing around on this leg. Huh? Now, where were we? We started out back at these muscles, and sometimes we drift. Now, one other muscle here that we need to see out kind of by itself is this head, sort of a teardrop shaped head. And it's sometimes kind of adherent to the gastrocs since they're having sort of a similar action there early on. And if I look at that, I say, well, we have two possible muscles down here that can flex the digit. One of them is going to originate up here, and it's going to go all the way to the third digit. Another one's going to originate from the femur and go all the way down to the second digit. What am I trying to say? Second phalanx, and insert there. So, and then that makes one of them superficial and one of them deep. Deep goes all the way